The PGA Tour is back in Florida this week to try and tame the snake pit at Innisbrook. The first round is set to get underway this morning in Tampa, and all morning long we will be taking you inside the ropes at the Valspar Championship, keeping you up to date with all the action. And taming the snake pit isn't the only challenge facing players this week. The Copperhead course at Innisbrook ranked among the toughest courses last year on the PGA Tour for wedge play. If you want to hit your wedges like the pros, stay tuned, and our Golf Channel Academy coach will have you pin seeking in no time. And two-time Solheim Cupper, an Olympian, and a winner on the LPGA, Sandra Gall will be joining us for all of hour 2. We're going to send her to the simulator, go inside the locker room with her, and hear how she's readying for her best season yet. We are here with you from 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern. Morning Drive starts right now.
And good morning to you. It is Thursday, March 9th. Clara Robinson with Charlie Ryan. The rest of the gang will join us. Now, the spring swing continues in Tampa today, and Copperhead might be amongst the 10 toughest courses on the PGA Tour across the last seasons. But, Charlie, it's also one of the favorites amongst the pros. Why is that?
Well, it is a tough course. There's no doubt about that. But it's also very fair. And PGA Tour players want a fair test. So if you look at the past champions of this event, you've had some long hitters, the likes of Gary Woodland, who really no one in the game hits it much farther than he does, win the event. And you've also had extremely straight drivers of the golf ball win in the likes of Jim Furyk. And so as a player, you feel like if you show up to play this week and you play your game and you play good golf, you got a chance to win, and that's all you can ask for, Cara.
Yeah, Luke Donald, a former champion here as well. Very different game, as you say, to the likes of Gary Woodland. I can't wait to watch the live golf kickoff later today on Golf Channel. But for now, let's say good morning to Paige McKenzie and Travis Fulton.
Good morning, Cara, and everyone out there. Thanks for joining us on this Thursday morning. I'm actually a little surprised that you made it in today. I know you were working hard with Charlie Ryman yesterday. How did it go?
It went really well. The big timer is doing really good. We were working on his driver swing over there at Grand Lakes, and the driver's getting better, and I'm going to give you an update later on in the show.
Excellent. Look forward to that. But for now, over to Bailey for what's trending.
Good morning, and thank you, Paige. Yes, round 1 of the Valspar Championship. It's just about to get underway after a brief fog delay, and we're giving you key tee times that you're going to want to watch today, including Patrick Reed, Jim Furyk, and Ernie Els. They are off the 10th tee at 8 a.m. Eastern. Furyk won the Valspar in 2010. Reed lost to Jordan Spieth in a playoff there 2 years ago, and the Big Easy, unfortunately, he is coming off 4 straight missed cuts on the PGA Tour this season. But for more on this tee time, over to Cara and Charlie.
All right, Bailey, thank you. Let's focus in on the guy from that group who has the second best record of anyone in this event across the last 2 years. Yes, Patrick Reed is 12 under total. The 26-year-old, though, only has one top 10 so far this season. Charlie, what part of his game do you think has been letting him down in 2017?
Well, Cara, stats don't paint the entire picture, but they certainly help us understand what's going on with a golfer. And by the way, we're going to be doing a little painting later in the show. But when you look at the stats of Patrick Reed and sort of consider that playing professional golf's like putting out a big brush fire. You go work over here and you think you got everything done, and then it flares up over here. And then you go work over here and then it flares up over there. That's sort of what golf is. There's only so many hours in the day. But when you look at Patrick Reed, he's putting very well. He's in the top 30 in the putting stats. He's just not hitting the golf ball very well. When you look at greens in regulation, he's 181st in greens. So he's missing a lot of greens. And then you look at the scrambling. When he does miss a green, he's not getting the ball up and down. He's 176th in scrambling. And that means because of putting as well, that means the pitching is not going very well. The bunker play is not going very well. So I just get the sense that, you know, he's sort of reeling. When you don't feel like you're hitting the ball well, you're not chipping the ball well, then you feel like you got to be perfect with everything else. What he needs is some stability, and what he needs is a good week at a golf course that fits him well, and this one fits him well, so this might be the week that sort of stabilizes everything.
No better than Copperhead for Patrick Reed. Does it surprise you a little bit, though, that he didn't build off some of that momentum and wonderful play that we saw from him at the Ryder Cup at Hazeltine?
Yeah, it does a little bit. And generally when you see someone who's struggling with something they're normally very good at, that tells me that they're working too hard in another area. I think in Patrick's case, it might be that he's working too hard on maybe trying to shore up the ball striking, and then he's neglecting the time that he normally spends on the short game. He's just in a bad cycle right now, and you need a little bit of a break to get out of that cycle. Sometimes you almost feel like you need to take a week or two off and hit the reset button and then come back and everything's fresh again.
Maybe he just needs more match play. We know Patrick Reed.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Ian Poulter of the American Ryder Cup teams, or has been of late anyway. He said his short game usually a big strength for Patrick Reed, so let's find out what we can learn from it as we send it back to Travis and Paige.
And Charlie mentioned he has typically been a good around the greens in a short game. So as we look towards this week and watching Patrick Reed, what should we be watching for?
Yeah, it's such a big part of his game. He never really does hit a ton of greens, but around the greens, he's really good. And usually in the top 40 in scrambling, as Charlie mentioned, he's at the bottom right now in scrambling. So, you know, here's Patrick Reed early in the year, SBS Tournament of Champions. And, you know, this is a shot that we would usually see from Patrick Reed. So as we roll this here, this is his third shot. He's got to get this up and down for par. You know, and so much of his game is scrambling here, getting it up there, saving pars, and then from there kind of stringing a few birdies together, and then 67 and 68. And you see this one went in the cup, and that's usually what we kind of see, those types of shots. Lots of creativity to the front of the green and then running out. Here's another shot. I like this shot. When I think of Patrick Reed's short game, this is the technique that really comes to my mind, kind of a real vertical hinge and then a low end point. That's really the shot that I think we can learn from Patrick Reed, and one at home I think that you need to have is if you watch Patrick Reed, he'll hinge the club up quickly this way, but he'll rotate the face as well. You can see the toe is up. I see a lot of players where they'll take the club back, that toe will ride down too much, like then it gets real sticky at the bottom. So you got to hinge it, you got to rotate the face in conjunction, and that's where Patrick Reed puts it. And then from their page, you know, he's always really good to this firm finish where he turns, keeps it in line, and he hits a lot of shots like that. I look for Patrick Reed to turn around. I think his scrambling will get better, and we'll see him starting to compete again and get back in the winner's circle.
Well, we certainly will see that starting today. And for now, again, back to Bailey for what's next.
Well, Paige, another tee time that we will all be watching closely today, second up on what is trending, is the group of Henrik Stenson, Charles Schwartzel, and Bubba Watson. They are off the 10th tee at 8:11 a.m. Now, Stenson, he is the highest ranked player in the field at number 6 in the world. Schwartzel is the defending champion, and Bubba, he's making his first appearance at Innisbrook since 2011. So to go more in depth on a player in this group, back over to you, Cara and Charlie.
All right, Bailey, thank you. Bubba Watson, now he's a name that we have gotten pretty used to seeing play well in the build-up to Augusta, but his results this season have been anything but typical for the two-time Masters champion. He seems, Charlie, to have turned into a little bit of an inconsistent golfer. Do you have any reasons why that might be?
Yeah, and it's odd because he has been very consistent throughout his entire career. And again, using stats to drill down a little bit, Cara, typically if you ever see a golf pro like an airport or at the mall away from a golf course and they're frowning and they don't look very happy, there's one reason for it. They're not making any putts. Bubba Watson is not making any putts. If you drill down to the stats, he's 188th in strokes gained putting. That's a stat that sort of compares you to other players in terms of how many putts you're holding. So 187 guys are making more putts than Bubba Watson, and it looks at putts from a similar distance. So that's something that's really tough. And here's one that really stands out. The stat that just sort of throws all the putting together, total putting, he's 212th. Let me put that in perspective. On any given week on the PGA Tour, there's only 144 players in the field. To rank 212th in anything, that's a golfer that's unhappy. And here's one more final piece of the puzzle that makes him very frustrated right now, is the fact he's driving the ball beautifully. Total driving is a stat that combines length and accuracy. Only 2 players on the tour are driving the ball better than Bubba Watson. So from a long ways up the fairway, in the middle of the fairway, he's not scoring very well, and that causes a lot of frustration. And the answer to that is make some putts.
Yeah, but pretty crazy for a guy who's ranked world number 16 to be ranked outside the top 200 in any category on the PGA Tour, but he is right now in terms of his putting. Let's see what we can take from the good part of his game, though, as we send it back to Paige and Travis.
Yes, we are going to continue to focus on the positive with Bubba Watson.
Right.
And one of the things that he does really well, of course, is the driving, but we think about all the shapes and coloring outside the lines. Well, I'm keeping Bubba Watson inside the lines today, so we're going to take a look at a couple positions at address. Number 1 is going to be the left leg and left side of his foot. Very key when you're winding up for power to stay balanced within that framework. The other thing is, because you want to create power, you still need to get that power from somewhere, and that's where he's actually presetting his sternum behind the ball. So as we roll it, I want you to keep an eye on both of these locations, and you can see there's no weight movement to the outside of that foot. He's staying well stable inside that leg, which I think is important because you need to be able to push off of it, and that's why you got to stay on the inside of that leg. And then you can see way behind the ball, staying with that sternum rotation. He hasn't moved the sternum. Where he's preset, he turns right around it. He doesn't tip or do anything like that. Do you like this position?
Yeah, it's a great position. It's always fun to watch Bubba. You know, so much turn in that trail hip, and look at that foot. And I think that's good advice for people at home. When you're turning, you're trying to recruit from the hip, and you're trying to stay on that post. You know, that lead foot, if it wants to come up a little bit, that's certainly fine to complete the backswing. And Bubba, of course, it's completed.
Exactly. So we'll go ahead and watch this follow through come through. But that's where he's getting his power. He's staying well controlled as he rotates in his backswing, moving through the downswing, pushing off the right way. Bailey, what's next?
A two-time Masters champ. It's kind of hard to believe he's under the radar as we head in the final days leading up to Augusta. But one final tee time that we want to draw your attention to this morning is the afternoon wave, 1:19 p.m. The trio of Scott Stallings, Ricky Barnes, and Wes Bryan. Stallings has 2 top 10s at the Valspar, including a tie for 5th finish last year. Barnes, he's making his 7th start at the Valspar, still in search of his first PGA Tour victory. And Wes Bryan, well, he's a rookie this year on the PGA Tour, so he is making his tournament debut. Cara and Charlie, back over to you.
Alrighty, thank you. Well, what a story Wesley Bryan is, by the way. From trick shots to 3 wins on the Web.com Tour last season, he's now posted back-to-back tied 4th finishes on the PGA Tour, both at Riviera and at PGA National. Those are no easy courses either, Charlie. Were you surprised to see him break out as really a legitimate contender?
Yeah, I was, to be perfectly honest. You spend some time with Wesley Bryan. I mean, he's delightful, man. There's no doubt about that. He's got a great personality, wonderful sense of humor. But the reason I was surprised is if you look at his background, he was certainly a very good college player. Looked like he was going to be a solid professional. But if you go walk up and down the range any given week on some of the top mini tours on the Web.com tour, there's a bunch of players that look like they're really good players.
Yeah.
And of course, we all got to know Wesley by he and his brother doing these amazing trick shots, which was really cool. And I think that's another reason people were surprised. Are you kidding me? The trick shot guy has made it
right.
and is playing wonderful golf. But no, he has done a phenomenal job of breaking away from the pack. When you talk to college coaches, when you talk to instructors, it's really hard to identify who's going to be the one that steps up and turns into a Kevin Kisner, who turns into a Wesley Bryan. I love it when it happens, but it's difficult to predict. There could have been one of another 90 guys that had a similar profile that have done what he's done. I think ultimately what it comes down to is the guys that do break out. I mentioned Kevin Kisner. Somehow, some way, they have this super strong belief in themselves. That's what we've seen happen with Wesley Bryan. That's what we saw happen with Kevin Kisner. The next young player that breaks away and goes out and starts to have a special rookie year or a second year on the PGA Tour, that'll be the case for them. They somehow, some way just figure out how they can believe in themselves, and what is something that's really not easy to do.
Well, and he branded himself so well with the trick shots beforehand that he was already a familiar name when he then started contending as well. Let's send it back to Travis and Paige and look at what was, and probably still is, one half of the Bryan brothers, what he's doing so well.
Yeah, it's not only confidence that he's doing really well. Travis, what are you looking at in his game?
Well, I love the putting stroke of Wesley Bryan. Really the key to his game. He's not a long ball hitter. Great with the wedge. Absolutely outstanding with the flat stick. I want to show you 2 things here from Wesley. The first is his routine. I want you to watch this routine. We're going to play this through here full, so let's go ahead and run it. Couple little practice strokes here, and then watch this. He's going to aim the face, 1 peek, off it goes, right? Now, that's easier said than done. A lot of you at home, including myself, can camp over the ball, right? Like we can get over it, like, am I lined up, am I not lined up? And then, okay, my body, and then...
What's the danger of doing that?
Well, we overthink it, right? We overthink it, then we start to steer it, and it's not rhythmic, it's not instinctive. When I look at that, this is very instinctive. The second thing is look at his elbows. His elbows are soft in front of the hips. I like that. I like the elbows, kind of out in front of the body. Gives him a little bit more freedom to be instinctive rather than maybe trapped in here behind the hips. So, he's got great technique, but I just love his attitude. Rumor has it when he gets it going, his gimme range can get from 6 to 8 feet. The guy can really fill it up with the flat stick.
Cara, I certainly wish my gimme range was that long.
Me too, by the way. Alrighty, we're just getting started on a Thursday, and we have a couple of big-time guests on the show today. We're bringing the ballroom to the golf course as Dancing with the Stars veteran Tony Dovolani is here to prove that smooth moves really do help your swing. Plus, she's a winner on the LPGA Tour, an Olympian and a 2-time Solheim Cup player. Sandra Gall joins in hour 2. We will find out what Captain Annika is doing behind the scenes to help the European team prepare for this year's event in Des Moines.